Thank you, Mihira. Good morning to all. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this webinar on child rights, jointly organized by Center for Child Rights and Juvenile Justice, National Law University, Delhi, and Department of Justice, Government of India, as part of the celebrations of 75 years of Indian independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Today is also a special occasion. The November 14th, we celebrate as a Children's Day and also as the birthday of the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji. Children are the most vulnerable citizens that have been guaranteed special rights in the Indian Constitution. And also, if you look at the United Nations Convention on Rights to Child, further, they have re-emphasized, acknowledged for the first time at the international level that children also are the right holders. And also they have emphasized that the states and instrumentalities of the state and governments all over the world has a duty to protect and promote child rights. This historic UN Convention on Child Rights took 10 years, and that was an attempt to bring several of these provisions relating to child rights, which are there in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Covenant on Civil Political Rights, Social Economic Rights. They are spread over several of the international human rights instruments. I think this 10 years of the work, which culminated in the 1989 UN Convention on Child Rights, was a historic document. If you look at the reception of these UNCRC by governments all over the world, most forthcoming. In fact, people say this is perhaps one of the widely ratified international instruments, and governments were enthusiastic to sign this United Nations Convention on Rights to Children. Government of India has ratified in the year 1992. I think that shows the importance and significance we have given for the protection and promotion of child rights. The 54 articles of the Child Rights Convention, which are the tools created by the world community to advance the notion of human rights of the children. This is, as I said, the first international instrument that provided rights-based approach to the children's issue. CRC also guarantees rights to children for a healthy survival, such as rights to development, education, healthcare, freedom from physical, mental, and sexual abuse or exploitation. The Child Rights Convention also guarantees the children right to participate meaningfully. Its provisions support and strengthen the family as the primary environment where these freedoms are given birth and fostered. Let me make an attempt to look at, I think, 6 important responses the Government of India has given to implement the Child Rights Convention. The first is the historic 2000 Act. We know we have the first 1986 Juvenile Justice Act, but after the UNCRC, the Government of India fell to bring a new legislation. In fact, this is stated in the objects and the reasons for the 2000 Act. The first time the CRC was invoked, when India enacted the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2000. Now look at the words really mean. Care and protection was emphasized for the first time in the 2000 legislation. And the Government of India said, having ratified the UNCRC, it is necessary to enact the existing legislations and bearing in mind the standards prescribed in the Convention on the Rights of the Children. I think this legislation for the first time has brought these two important the child in conflict with law and child in care and protection. And they have also mentioned in section 2, clause 12, that a person who has not attained the age of 18 years is a juvenile. Second important response we could see is 2015 Act. 2015 Act, which is something which is again a unique, is a chapter 3 was incorporated into the 2015 legislation, 16 principles. I think 2000 Act for the first time has brought in these child in conflict with law and children in care and protection, and also articulated for the first time best interests of the children and child-friendly procedure. But 2015 legislation added a third chapter 3, which explained with 16 principles, laying down the guidelines for dealing with children taken from the United Nations Child Rights Convention, UDHR, and Beijing rules. And thirdly, if you look at the prohibiting the detention of the children in prisons under 18 is another important instrument we could see the government of India has adopted following the CRC and UN standard minimum rules for the administration of juvenile justice, we call as a Beijing Rules 1985. The third one is even the passing of the Commission for the Protection of Child Rights also is in response to the international obligations India, particularly in the field of protection of child rights. Look at 2012, after the Justice Verma Committee, and then this Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act is also one of the important reasons, in fact, which is stated in the statements and objects of the reasons of the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. This is again in consonance with the Child Rights Convention. Lastly, we could look at the right of the child to privacy and confidentiality throughout all the stages of the judicial process was also adopted directly from Article 40, Clause 2, 4 of the CRC. I think this shows the government of India's commitment, particularly in the area of child rights. Indian Supreme Court, government of India is already in the forefront and implementation and guaranteeing child rights. Let me conclude with few observations. The international community has over several decades sought to protect and safeguard children through various instruments: Declaration of Geneva, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Declaration of Rights of the Child, which culminated ultimately in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. The major credit goes to the Child Rights Convention for acknowledging and recognizing children as a right holders and reinforcing the state's duty to ensure fulfillment of these rights. I think it's our endeavor, all of us, the National Law University Delhi Center for Child Rights and Juvenile Justice is committed to carry forward the mission of justice to children, to provide and safeguard and further ensure much more care, protection, compassion, affection, and love towards the children. Let me conclude in the memorable words of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru that I quote, "Children are like birds in the garden and should be carefully and lovingly nurtured, as they are the future of the nation and the citizens of today